am a lesbian empty nester. Some of you guys look nervous. You don't have to be nervous. I'm like every other mom. Like, I nag, I hover, I worry. I prefer a dick you can rinse off and put in the dishwasher. Not that different. I am also biracial. Okay, I don't know if you can tell. I am 1/2 Japanese, 1/4 German, and 1/4 Swedish. I am like sashimi with a side of schnitzel. Or the human version of a labradoodle. I am Asian, but sadly, I am just white enough to be aging poorly. Not much you can do about it. So actually, I have 20-year-old twin boys, okay? And they're home for the winter. And anyway, you know, and like I was doing their laundry like I used to dream of when I was a little girl. And there's something up because I started finding random girls' clothing in my son's laundry. Bright, and you know, my partner over there, we have been together for 29 years.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to clap. We're just probably too lazy to break up. And divorce seems like a lot of work. So. But we've been together for nearly 3 decades, and trust me, we are not thong lesbians, okay? I am tired of doing these bitches' laundry, you know? Take your underwear home, okay, girlie? Anyway, and then, you know, the other thing that keeps happening every night, every evening, they come to me. They're like, Mom, what are you making for dinner? What's for dinner? I'm like, Jesus Christ, you have an ATM card and an automobile. Why is this still my responsibility? If I wanted some dude on my ass every night bugging me about dinner, I would have been a heterosexual. You know? The other thing is, we live in an area that I like to call the slums of Hancock Park. We do not live in the fancy section. We are a Ralph's family in a Gelson's neighborhood. But because of our proximity, the kids have a lot of activity with the children of celebrities. Normally I was fine, you know, nothing, you know, I could deal with celebrities. All of this changed when my son started playing football with the son of Christopher Maloney. Now, many of you, obviously most of you, do not know who that is, but I'm going to drop a little hint, okay? Here we go. In the criminal justice system, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. Christopher Maloney plays Sergeant Elliot Stabler on Law & Order SVU, okay? The daddy of all daddies, all right? And I was like, you are a lesbian. What is the problem? Apparently there are some like teeny weeny cluster of neurons in the back of my brain that are somehow heterosexual. And I was just powerless against that man's ass. I mean, it's just like 2 perfect Maloney's nestled in his khakis. And you're like, shit. So my son is so sweet. He comes up to me and he's like, Mommy, do you want to meet the guy from your program? I have seen every episode at least twice, okay? So he's like, don't you want to meet the guy from your program? And I'm like, Tadashi, that's the name of my son. I'm half Japanese, as I said. I'm like, Tadashi, do not bring Sergeant Stabler over here, okay? Here are orange slices and Gatorade. I'm gonna bounce, you know? And, you know, again, you know, you would think, like, what is the problem? And I just really came to realize that if this man ever saw my actual face, that he would suss out all of the perverted fantasies I had had about doing shit with Sergeant Elliot Stabler. I could end up like a perp on SVU. Sadly, that did not happen. You know, the other thing is, you know, I'm a lesbian. I have 2 boys. What difference, you know, would the Roe v. Wade, you know, decision make to me? Not going to affect me anytime soon. That is where you would be totally wrong, okay? for spring break, my son asked us to send him to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, okay? And I said, I just told him straight up, I said, listen, if you think I am going to be paying for some redneck Riviera chippy to fly out to California and get an abortion, you would be abso-fucking-lutely right. I would fly that bitch out first class. I would put her in the Peninsula Hotel. I would get her Nobu reservations. But she has got to promise to take care of the problem. I love my son. He's a tremendous young man. But this is a kid who could not keep 3 pot plants alive last summer. Ladies and gentlemen, he loves weed more than he loves me. I am 100% sure. So this, I don't think he's ready for fatherhood. And I am certainly not ready to be an abuela. So, you know what I mean? The other thing is, I think, my son, judging from his social media, I've got 2 boys, right? One of them is in Santa Barbara. He's living his best life in Santa Barbara, joined a frat. Judging from his social media, he is majoring in pussy and cannabis studies. It makes a mom proud. Let me tell you, it makes a mom super proud. And then my other son, he's never gotten a B. He's a 4.0 student. He is in honors college. Hashtag parental humble brag. Anyway, but they are polar opposites. I had them in the same room 1 minute apart. And that's how you know astrology is bullshit. You would think they'd have a trait or 2 in common, but that's not the situation at all. It's not the situation. The other thing is, I'm kind of a fan, like one of the other comics, I'm kind of a fan of horror movies, as you mentioned. My favorite horror movies are vampire movies, because I think, the monsters are kind of hot, whatever. And one of my favorites was, there was a movie in the 90s called Bram Stoker's Dracula. Right. And it had Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder. Yes. And he was his love for eternity, right? And there was the hottest line in that movie. And he gazed down upon her. And he said, "I've crossed oceans of time for you." This used to hurt my feelings. Because I could not get bitches to go east of La Cienega for me. It was very sad. Anyway, whatever. And then the other thing is what sort of struck me as odd is Dracula has a type, right? It's always some wisp of a girl, with alabaster skin. I'm like, listen, it makes a lot more sense for Dracula to come after somebody who looks like me. Strictly from a blood volume standpoint. Because I am the vampire equivalent of a Costco run. And Dracula would just drag me back to the castle. And he'd throw me in the dungeon. And he'd go, "Dudes, I've got a kegger. She's in there. We just gotta wrap it up by 6 a.m. Anyway, okay, so I don't know, I think you probably are familiar with Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? And she was at this black tie gala the other night in New York, and she got up and announced that you could get a butt plug or a dildo in Target or CVS. I was like, weird how she's sharing her Christmas list with all these strangers, but it works for her, And so I thought, I just wrote a little song for her. It's for the holidays. I guess it's a little late, but I still think it's funny, so I'm going to do it. It's sung to the tune of My Favorite Things. Okay? Here we go. Butt plugs and dildos and lies that are fascists, grifters and dum-dums with senseless backlashes, Jewish space laser like that's not a thing. This is what matters to Marge's right wing. When the drag queens tell a story, Marjorie loses her shit. But then I remember that she is a